Welcome to Soul Wellness with Kristen, where we get into the nitty-gritty of various holistic modalities and explore exactly how they help you heal. I'm your host, Kristen, and I invite you to join me on this enlightening expedition where we explore the connection between mind, body, and spirit. In each episode, we'll talk in depth with holistic providers, medical professionals, therapists, and healers. Our goal is to empower you with knowledge, inspire you with stories of resilience, and provide practical tools that you can integrate into your daily life. So, find a comfortable space and join us as we explore the multifaceted world of holistic wellness. Get ready to learn how to improve every aspect of your life and simply feel good. The adventure begins now. Thank you for joining us. Today I have Lindsey Mann back with me, and she is with Enjoy Holistic Wellness and a tenant at Soul Wellness, and she wanted to come on today and talk about a recent experience that she just had. So we're going to have a little story time today.
Story time.
Yeah, so I'm glad to have you back.
Yeah, so I'm on here today because I wanted to share a story. As you know, I'm a master yoga instructor, and back in 2020 is when I started my training with a dear friend named Claire. She owns a yoga studio down in Miami, and we had met a year prior and met through a mutual friend. It was actually pretty cosmic how
Divine.
Small the world actually is. We ended up on a trip to Egypt together and had a very profound experience and became friends. Fast forward a couple months, it was my birthday month, and my birthday at that time was 2/20/2020.
Oh, cool.
So I was like, I need to do something really special because this is never going to happen again, all these twos. This is pretty cool. And I was getting all these signs that I should be calling Claire. And I knew her. We were friends, but we weren't like, hey, I'm going to come down to Miami and visit. I called her anyway. And she's like, yeah, it's your birthday? Sweet. Come down. So I went down for the weekend, had a very profound experience, and decided that I needed to start learning more about the practices. I had never done a yoga class before, never meditated before, really thought that yoga was about the clothes you wear. And
wow, I'm shocked because you have come a long way in just 4 years.
Yeah. So I really thought like I had to have the perfect outfit and I had to be able to bend in certain ways. Right. And I was a little nervous. I was freaking out because I couldn't bend over and touch my toes, and I was going to go to a yoga class. So I went down, I had a profound experience, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want more. Because something shifted in that weekend during the practices that my heart, my soul was just so excited to be witnessed in a different way. So she taught me the meditation technique. She ended up listening to the guidance I was receiving to have a 200-hour intensive week for a 200-hour yoga training. Now, it's during COVID, so nobody's really traveling. The yoga school that she received her training from was pretty much locked down in India. So there was no other way that I was going to get this instruction.
Right.
So she says, okay, great. I'm doing it. We're doing the 200-hour in July. I was like, wow, that's great. A week before the training, she's like, you going to sign up? And all of this deep, deep unworthiness was just holding me back. About the money, about the travel. I'd be gone for, I think, a total of like 3 weeks. I was a nurse full-time.
With kids?
With kids.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. I think I only had 3 dogs then, maybe 4. But I was carrying so much responsibility. And we always talk about, as a whole, we talk about self-care, nurturing oneself. But really, when it comes down to it, are we doing it? So I said, well, even the money was a little, like, a couple $1,000s. Mm-hmm. Where was I going to stay? All of these things were coming in, these things of my creation, the things that I wasn't wanting to find a solution. And then I sat and I allowed the emotions to come through, and I said, that's it, I'm going. And I went. And it changed my life and enhanced my life in ways that I would have to sit down and write about, and I have sat down and write about. But what happened during those couple weeks was I witnessed my internal self experience alignment. So I was living a life of very like scattered, they're going here, going there, just trying to make life work. Not necessarily enjoying the process, but just doing the tasks. And so within the training, within the integrative approach that the school that I attend presents, we come into alignment. There's unity. Yoga means unity. So I had a profound experience. I ended it with jumping out of a plane in Key West.
Nice.
And did some very deep work of forgiving. There was a lot of forgiveness when I jumped out of that plane. And it was really exhilarating, and it's so heart-opening, and it was wonderful. And I ended up getting my 300-hour teacher training with Claire, traveling back and forth from Charlotte to Miami for a year and a half. Multiple trainings, multiple moments of clarity. I quit my job and really was in this very deep devotion to who I wanted to be. So Claire went and received her 300-hour there, and the teacher, his name is Anand, and he had come, last time he came to the U.S. was 10 years ago. So most people here in the West will travel to India, travel to Rishikesh, where yoga was born, and have profound experiences there. It's a very holy, sacred land. And we weren't able to really do that. And so the teachers that were here in the U.S. have been creating communities and supporting people in very unique ways, and had been wanting Anand to come back to the United States. And he did. They were able to have him come, and he's currently on a tour, and they're calling it the Unity Tour. And he did a talk the other night at my friend's studio in Atlanta, and he also led us through a yoga journey. And I wanted to share some insight from that. He's explaining that when anyone in the world taps into the energy of America, it's very divisive. There's so much division. There's so much anger. There's this idealistic expectation to follow what goes on in America. America's like the Rome of the world.
That's so interesting, because I was thinking about this the other day. Like, how are we being perceived right now? I know how we feel living here, and it does feel divisive and angry and so polarizing, opposite, just divided, all of those adjectives. Wonder what other countries are thinking when they look at us.
Well, and it's interesting because our news is shared in other countries. What's going on in the political mainstream is shared in other countries. And how does that make us look? Because when people think of America, it's where you go for freedom, for opportunity. There's all these ideals that in the history of the United States, it has been a place to go to be expressive, to be free,
opportunity,
and have the opportunity.
Yes.
But he explained that, when you tap into the energy of America, it just feels, as of now, very divided. And really since COVID, we've experienced so much division on a very quick pace. It's not like division and then we come together.
Right.
When's the coming together?
It's been one thing after the other to be divided on.
And he kind of made a joke about, not even really a joke, but he would receive calls during COVID of people, his students, saying, what do I do? Because this whole to vaccinate, to not vaccinate is creating so much division in my own family. That choice was creating division. And you and I were talking a couple weeks ago about having these presidential candidates express their beliefs and their goals for what they want to do, but there's so far right, so far left. Where's the middle?
Right, where most everybody is standing. Most people, I believe, are right in the middle.
And trying to figure out, how do you be in the middle? But we are supposed to choose a side.
Right.
Because that's what we're supposed to do.
I know.
In November.
I was at a concert a few weeks ago, and right across town in Charlotte, there was a campaign going on. One of the presidential candidates was in town, and there was probably 10,000 people at that event. And at this concert that I'm at, there was 19,000 people. And I'm sitting there with a mix of friends, liberal friends, conservative friends, and we're just all together enjoying this concert. And the lead singer says, "Look at us. We're all here together. We're not all the same. We don't all feel the same. We've got a campaign going on across town, but we all chose to come here because we have this one thing in common, and that's good music. And we're all together, and we're having a blast together." And the crowd went crazy. I have chills.
I have chills now, too.
I have chills talking about it because we all looked at each other. Again, I'm in a group of people, both liberal and conservative friends, and we all looked at each other and we were like, yes, that's exactly right. We are all here together because we're enjoying this together and we want to be together. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was beautiful.
That it can happen. It starts within. People are so focused on finding the solution in the external world, the external around them. Some people are so focused on this savior complex of, if this person gets into office, I'm going to be okay. But if you really look at the day-to-day of your life, in this very moment that we're recording this or that you're listening to this, what really matters is how you're feeling in here.
Right.
In your heart, and the choices that you make on an everyday basis. So he's here, he's stopping in different parts of the U.S. to provide an experience for people to see and feel the alignment that the yogic Vedantic practices create. And to stop seeking the solution from an external, from a savior.
Right.
From the cell phone. From scrolling the internet. Looking for that answer, looking for the next thing that's going to make me perfect and feel better.
That validation. Acceptance. It drives me crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's interesting is the division that we create in our internal by looking at the feeds, looking at the social media feeds. He was telling a story. He's like, yeah, it's, you get up in the morning and you haven't even brushed your teeth yet and you're scrolling social media and somebody has a yacht and you're sitting there with your hair a mess. You don't have any your makeup on and you're like, what am I doing with my life? And unless you've experienced what alignment feels like internally, you don't have a true concept of grace and love and in alignment. So by me telling my story about making a huge pivot and going for that training in Miami, had I not made that choice, I could still be living in that misalignment.
Right.
But when we are aligned with our internal self and have experienced God within, by turning inward, by feeling our own soul, this is deep, by feeling it, like really feeling it and not feeling the external dissonance, we can't experience the alignment that is there for us and wants us to be there. So I was trying to explain to my husband what happened over these last few days. It's really hard to explain what your internal experience is because words don't always add up. But I told him, I said, imagine if we planted a seed outside and that seed wasn't receiving any nourishment at all, is it going to grow? If it wasn't receiving any water, any nourishment from the minerals in the soil, nothing, it would just still be a seed.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that are walking around and just want to be seeds. But there are other people that want to be nourished in a different way to grow.
Right.
And so I wanted to come on and explain that I offer this. I offer you an opportunity to experience a yoga practice that's different, that supports the energetic bodies within you in order to feel alignment. I just am, in sharing these teachings, sharing something that has been so close to my heart is an expression of love and wanting others to feel it. And you've been in a class.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can share like just a couple words.
It was different. It was not your normal yoga class that you would go take at a studio and, you sign up at a certain time and take a little yoga class with a group of women. It was much deeper than that. And we were doing things I'd never done before with the breathing, the mantras, there's so many things that I still take from those times with you and use today, even though I haven't spent a lot of time with you in a yoga class. I still use the tools that you gave me.
And I'm thinking about the class, and we did quite a bit of breath work. We did some very slow pranayama, and very quick in utilizing our physical body to help shift the energy. It's so life enhancing. And last night during the journey that Anand taught, I was full on ready for anything, because there are some classes that he has taught that are very physical, very like you're going to break a sweat and you're going to shift something freaking huge in your life. And it was very subtle. On the outside, it looked like it was subtle, but it was a lot of breath work. It was mantra. It was gentle movements. It was a very softened approach. However, there was an immense shift in that room.
Wow.
And everybody was just so like blissed out. And if you've never been blissed out before, not including like drugs,
right,
but blissed out just in your own, like being present in that moment, it's the most beautiful experience I've had.
I bet there were tears.
There were a lot of people with tears.
Yeah.
And there were people, there's a story about, like divine timing is, we can tell so many stories about this, but there was a gentleman that was there as a friend of Claire's that came from Miami. And he sat down next to this woman, and everybody's facing the front of the room, like waiting for the teacher to come out, and he's just sitting there. And he turns and looks and realizes that it's his best friend's sister that he went to college with 25 years ago in Indiana, and we're in Georgia, and he's from Miami. All these people met in this moment because there is a yearning for people to be walking around joyful.
Right.
And
I think it's what you want. Ultimately, it's what your soul wants. It's just, if you haven't ever found it, like you said, if that seed has never been nurtured, you really don't know. You're just always striving for it, but you're looking for it externally. Everybody's looking for it externally.
And how do you feel it? Like, I look at those moments where, like last night, where I felt really, really great. And then I look back to like a week or two ago when I was watching the news and how gross it made me feel.
I know.
Like, can you just for a moment have that awareness, how your physical body literally reacts, how it creates so much ickiness throughout your day, how that person in the grocery store just pissed you off because they cut you in line. Whereas if you're in this joyful, blissful mentality experience, like, this is great. Oh, go in front of me.
Exactly.
I mean, if you haven't experienced that, I welcome you to like do it, because that's what's going to create the change. And that's why he came here, is to create the inspiration that there is another way, that we don't have to buy into the negativity that is being thrown at us all
Blasted.
the freaking time.
Yes.
And that something is wrong with you, so take this pill. Or there's medication for things that you do need to take for your physical body. Doctor prescribed, okay, but there's not a magic pill that creates sustained joy.
And numbing yourself to just get by, I feel like you're going to come right back and have to face it again. I think karma's going to play its card in that.
Yeah.
Don't you?
No, it does. And I've experienced in a way like, God, I thought I already like went through this lesson and it's coming back.
Don't you hate those?
Just keeps coming back. And wow, recognizing that it's there.
Yeah.
Having that awareness, having it come back to give you an opportunity to heal again, create some healing energy towards that thing. It's called a samskara. And so when it comes back next time, you're not in it for that long. You're meant to move through it again, but move through it quicker because you have tools. I give you those tools. I teach you the tools to work through it.
Yeah.
You can come to me. That's what the lineage, this yogic lineage is about. Is I have teachers that have taught me. And so now, and what I have been doing with people is, let me support you in this part of your healing. And then maybe you can support somebody and just create this ripple effect.
Yes.
And there is a statistic, and I don't remember if he said it was 100 times or 10 times, but that if you walk around at a higher consciousness level, at a higher vibration of joy, happiness, bliss, it is 100 times more effective towards the people around you than the negative. But why do we want to create so much division is my question.
I don't understand it myself. Yeah.
The universe. But in this time, he also spoke about that this time in evolution, our current times, is fueled by Mercury, which is quick moving. And information is delivered very quickly. Teachings are delivered you can go on your phone and learn anything about anything. Whereas 20, 30 years ago, you couldn't.
Right.
So everything's so fast paced. So using this energy of our time to create dissonance and anger and to keep fueling that, if we fuel the side of love, which is what creation is based on, so many things, many, 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 many people can be affected. And like Soul Wellness has created a foundation in Mooresville that has been creating ripples. And you established it in a time of uncertainty.
Right.
But since you were in alignment, it is flourishing. And it takes constant nourishment.
Yeah.
And as it grows, the people shift as well. Right?
That is the truth. Yeah.
Like the vibe shifts.
Yeah. That is so true. It does. One of our tenants told me yesterday that a client found her through this podcast. She's located in Missouri. And that just made my heart swell because I had no idea that we could reach that far.
And it's gonna be even further once this one
that.
comes out. Like, let's get other people in the world. And Anand, that's his name. Every time they have a 200-hour or 300-hour training, any trainings, there's someone from every country represented. They're getting volumes of people that are seeking, and they're not sure what they're seeking. They just know they need to change.
They need a shift. They know this is no way to live the rest of my life feeling
humanity
chaotic and divided and angry and yeah.
And so what is being explored is how can I get closer and understand myself? How can I hear myself? And he talks a lot about what am I supposed to be doing with my life? And so I feel that's one of the questions that everybody has.
Agreed, because purpose is
life purpose. You have to have a life purpose.
Yeah, they've connected that to longevity. I mean, having purpose is everything.
Yeah. So he says that the idea of what am I supposed to do with my life is so abstract and so big, and it creates an inability to take action because we're so focused on, well, this person's doing that, or maybe I should take that training. That sounds interesting. So you do all these things, but are you really connected in here?
Right. And how about the money? Is it going to pay? Am I going to be able to survive? I mean, there's so much chatter in there. I get it.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Which there's so much, like there are things that we have to have.
Right.
We have to have shelter. We have to have food, water, the basics of life. So if you can get into a moment, into a time of self-quiet reflection and just witness what happens. And it might take a few times. And it might be in a moment when you're sitting in traffic and you find yourself not really thinking of anything, and then all of a sudden it comes in.
Yeah.
Right?
I spent a lot of time on the Red Rocks in Sedona by myself. And that's where I would get these just overwhelming feelings of infinite possibility. And anything is possible, and the creativity would just start flowing, and the tears would be streaming down my face because I'm just like, you feel so alive when you get aligned. And that's where a lot of my inspiration came from, is getting away from it all, turning the TV, the phone off, getting into a nice vortex type place and letting energy flow.
And nature.
Yeah.
And as you say this, what comes to me is, as we're talking about this time in evolution and how quickly information is delivered, how quickly you can download that information too.
Right.
As far as sitting on a rock in Sedona, you can sit on a rock outside too and shut out, but Sedona is really pretty great.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Pretty great. I mean, take that trip.
Yeah.
Get out there and remember, if your idea of what am I supposed to do with my life, what's my life purpose, what's your purpose today? What are you going to do today? He says that if you live today as you want to live your life, there will be purpose in the day. He may not say it just like that, but that's how I'm expressing it.
Yeah.
Because if I think of, like, what am I going to be doing in 10 years? And kids will be away. Like, maybe they'll have kids. Maybe they'll get married. Like, oh, my gosh. Like, that sounds overwhelming. Because then I set an expectation. And then if I don't meet that expectation, am I going to be okay with that? But, like, what am I going to do today?
Yeah.
And so after sitting and listening to his wisdom talk, and I've heard him many times, and it's mostly been through Zoom. And you really can connect energetically with people on Zoom. And when I met him in person, it felt like meeting a friend, which is the teacher that I want. Sitting with him and listening to his wisdom talk and having it just affect me in just such a beautiful, beautiful way. And I've heard him over Zoom. You can make that energetic connection via Zoom, via telephone call. But having him sit a few feet away, it felt like a warm embrace of a friend saying, we're doing this together. There was no hierarchy. There was no, oh, my teacher, I bow to you. That's not how it is. He spoke a lot about time and what are you spending your time on? What you give attention to grows, And so in your life, have you ever really questioned what you're doing with your time?
100%. And in fact, that's how I think I discovered or fell upon my purpose. I had to be put in those positions of being so uncomfortable for so long, usually in a corporate job, questioning, why am I doing this? I'm doing this for the money, but I'm wasting my life. This is not providing a benefit to my heart, my soul. It's not providing a benefit to anybody else. I'm not helping anybody. I'm selling somebody's gadget to make money, to make them rich. There were so many times that I found myself in that position and really having some really difficult times. That's why I started going to Sedona once a year. I would just take a little sabbatical for a week by myself and get out there and disconnect so that I could feel me, who I am, my soul. And that's where it I slowly evolved into something else. Mm-hmm. But I had to get really uncomfortable for a long time to push myself to those corners.
That's what it took for you, was just frustration.
Yeah.
Sadness. Just thinking of all the words that I felt in certain times in my life as well. And feeling like, is there hope? Is there no hope?
Right.
What do I do? What should my next step be? There's all these self-help books, but nobody can actually make the choice for us or make us do any of it. So also to share of this young woman, I'd say young woman, she was probably 14, 15, and she asked a question, and it was about hoping that she can go to heaven to be healed. It was kind of the basis of the question. And she appeared to have a physical disability. And he told a joke about that's told in India about this man that he dies and he goes to heaven, he doesn't go to heaven, but he goes to this like place, and he's like, okay, I'm here. And they're like, okay. He's like, well, I lived a very miserable life. I was very unhappy. And so now show me Vegas. And the guy's like, you were in heaven. Just nobody told you that you were in heaven. It was just what you were doing that created the illusion that you weren't.
Right.
And so we can create that. Heaven is here. Mm-hmm. It's not outside of us. It's not a place that we have to go later. And this could create some thoughts from people. But what if you still kept your idea of heaven? Because I do believe in a heaven. And so this is opening me up to the willingness to explore heaven here. Mm-hmm. And creating heaven here. Because, wow, there's got to be something better than what's going on right now.
Yeah.
And I'd like to offer people the opportunity to connect and really come together in unity. Mm-hmm. And so his tour is, called the Unity Tour. Well, what does unity really mean? And I have always thought unity means everybody coming together and agreeing on what they're coming together for. Mm-hmm. Like, let's unite. Let's have this. We're the group. We're the people. We're united. We've got our pitchforks and whatever, and we're united. We're going to go, and we're going to go out in the world and be united. But how he expresses it is, we're never going to be in a group of 10 people and agree on everything.
Right.
Just decide to go out to dinner with 10 people and nobody can make a decision. Right?
Exactly.
And it's so true.
We're all different. We're walking in different shoes, different experiences, different wounds. It's hard.
Amazing that we're all different.
Right.
But can we come together and have the desire to be with people that are on a path of growth?
Yeah.
Because, when we sit and we have conversations, you have a very different life than I do. We might have different opinions on things, which is totally fine, but we can come together and have this conversation.
Yep.
And so what's come out of this is, what's the calling on my heart is to get a group together, people coming together in unity. Just come together. Mm-hmm. We don't have to have conversations about politics. Does it really matter?
Right.
No, what matters is creating a community of like-minded, loving souls that come together and want to share their compassionate ideas, share their desire to support others in their growth. And you're creating this with Soul Wellness. And there are other places here in the Mooresville area as well. But I feel there needs to be this is the time that we meet on the second Wednesday and coming together. And really, I'm more focusing, I think, as of right now. I'm just coming off of this experience, but having mothers come together and feel supported and not judged, because motherhood is evolution, and there's so many opinions on right and wrong. And when you go out with your girls and you get a drink, and it usually just ends up you bitching about your husband not doing the right thing, or just to have a grounded conversation and to really see each other as we're supporting the next generation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're molding them
into adults that are going to be out in the world.
Yes.
And in order to create loving, compassionate individuals, we have to be that way with ourselves first.
Agreed.
And so what's really important for me right now is to create that time and space for a community to come together. So that's kind of where I really wanted to have this conversation, is to share and to also put out there that I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here. I'm available.
I think it's perfect, because I know 10, 20 years ago, I would have loved to have found somebody like you that could have taken my hand and walked me through.
Me too.
Right? But
I would have loved that.
Where you've evolved to, and now you
Yeah.
can do that. And I feel like I do it as well with people at the center. You know, when somebody comes in that's feeling a little bit lost or disconnected from themselves, I love connecting people to you guys, the tenants there, because I know you're just making profound changes in people. It's huge.
And what's been really amazing is the sessions that I've had with other tenants for myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm not 100% healed. Like, there's not that expectation.
Right.
But in order for me to continue to practice alignment and realizing, like, I got some stuff to work through as well.
Yeah.
But I've been in the shoes of other people. And for me, what's been really comforting is knowing when I go to a practitioner, they've had a similar experience. What worked for you? Can you support me? Yeah, let's do this together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so having somebody next to you instead of somebody dictating to you is just so supportive.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of support there.
Yeah, so let's find some unity and alignment within us. Yoga means unity. And it begins now. The first sutra that Patanjali wrote, or they put into words on paper, is yoga begins now. Unity begins now. Mm-hmm. You can choose to start now, or 5 minutes from now. You can start now.
Yeah.
In this moment.
Do you plan to do more classes at Soul Wellness?
Mm-hmm. I'd like to. Yeah.
Well, for anybody listening, keep up with our website, because I'll put those on the events tab as you create your classes. And on social media as well. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook, because I always put your classes on there.
I know. They're there.
Yeah. And I highly recommend them. I mean, like I said, I'm still using tools that you gave me last year.
A year and a half ago, maybe?
Yeah.
From the astrology reading, That and the class, and just really having conversation.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for being with us and sharing. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on another enriching episode of Soul Wellness with Kristen. We hope the insights shared today have resonated with you, inspiring a deeper connection to your own journey towards holistic well-being. If you enjoyed today's episode, we invite you to subscribe, share, and reach out. Your feedback fuels our mission to bring you meaningful content that educates, empowers, and uplifts. Remember, you are a vital part of this community, and together we're creating a ripple effect of positive change.